This session is on Ready for Mobile Commerce. My name is Keith Reed. I'm the Editorial Director of Fuel Marketer News. Our panelists today are Vish Ganapathy. He's the Vice President, CTO, Global Distribution Sector, IBM. Vish focuses on the strategic direction of IBM's industry solutions, bridging business and technology through architecture and design. In particular, he specializes in bridging how software applications and technology solutions can enable business capabilities. Retailers are looking for to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. Don Frieden is the founder and CEO of P97. Don is a thought leader, visionary, and serial entrepreneur providing strategic direction for the company. Don has a passion for research and development, technology partnerships, and sales. For the last 15 years, Don has been on the forefront of the industry, leading applications related to mobile technology from concept to commercial viability to mainstream. Questions, we're more than excited to have you submit questions. They're going to be in a written format. Please submit them using the attendee dashboard. We will not be using the audio feature for questions. Our panelists will answer the questions at the end of the webinar. We'll try but may not succeed in answering all questions in the time allotted, but I have no doubt that your questions will be answered by the panelists. So again, sorry for the delay. Here is Vish. Thank you, Vish.
Thanks, Keith. So hopefully I don't, this is not too laborious to listen to this again, but one of the things that we discussed earlier, I'll talk about it again, is this megatrends driving our industry. And the three big megatrends that we see is the fact that the increasing adoption of devices of all sorts, whether it's mobile, whether it is Internet of Things in the future, which will eventually converge with mobile, are driving how consumers behave, how people behave in general, and how they transact. And that transaction tends to be extremely disconnected across all facets of retail segments that we see. And in order to accommodate for all of this level of degree of transparency, retailers in turn are trying to open their aperture in terms of what all data they can leverage in order to make the engagement with their customers more meaningful and more relevant, which is very, very important in order for them to differentiate. And differentiation in general is taken a center stage. I mean, when I look at all of the different clients we work with and the number of people who have opened up innovation centers, either in Silicon Valley or built up their own innovation labs and asking us to come and help them create an innovation as a service offering for them. It's amazing to me the amount of innovation that's going on. I'm right now working with a very large retailer where they want to essentially custom build their own tablet to be able to completely replace all the stuff that they have in the store and take that worldwide. So if you think about where mobile is going, and oh, by the way, I just read a study yesterday that basically says in the next 5 to 10 years, mobile devices or smartphones as we know it itself will be obsolete. So technology, the pace of change in technology is rather incredible. Next slide, please. And because of that, you know, one of the things that we focus in IBM is we focus a lot in how we help clients solve these problems with a combination of social and mobile. And our definition of social is, you know, much broader than social networks. It's the concept of social business, which allows people to communicate and collaborate in a B2B kind of manner over and above the consumer collaboration, which obviously happens. And our clients in turn are asking us, you know, how do we get more digitally ready in order to take advantage of all these capabilities? And mobile seems to be front and foremost in just about every example through which they want to surface these capabilities, both to the end consumer and also to their own employees and associates. I had a customer in the UK a couple of weeks ago that I was talking to, and one of the things that they were telling me was they said, listen, our employees go out there, and when they use their mobile phone in their own lives, whether it is ordering up a taxi in Uber or ordering up some food or paying for something at a local fast food joint, they're using mobile devices, and more often than not, the kinds of technology that they use outside our company are far more sophisticated and interesting to them, to the type of technologies that we're exposing them within our organization. They come to work and they use some, archaic green screen or some extremely convoluted UI that they struggle through, and that causes an incredibly unimpressive, store associate experience for them. So part of their rationale for innovating, not in the end consumer space, but even in their employee space, was so that they can elevate the level of interest and enthusiasm that people would have to go work for somebody like that and foster that kind of an innovation culture. So it's very, very interesting how this has become pervasive across the industry, not only on consumer-facing applications, but also employee applications. Next slide, please. So IBM does this digital analytics benchmark. You can actually search for it online and you'll find it. And of course, a lot of other people do, including Internet Retailer, etc. And I pulled out a couple of data points. One, it's interesting, we talk a lot about online, of course, but of course, the total online sales only accounts for approximately 7% of all retail sales. So the point there being that people still go into stores. People still go into brick and mortar stores. People still interact physically in order to perform their transactions or interactions. But the one thing that probably is somewhat of a common thread, whether you're going online or offline, if you will, is the fact that you always have your mobile device next to you, and you always have a mechanism to interact with your customers that way. The other key point, which is not necessarily mentioned on the slide, but when we went through the data points, we discovered that over 46% of all traffic was mobile. That represents approximately a 15% increase. And oh, by the way, mobile grabbed a 25% of all sales that were online, that is, were on mobile. And that is a 27% increase, which means people are actually using mobile devices to buy, mobile devices to make their purchases, which again shows an exponential amount of growth that's possible in the space. We believe that with mobile, especially with the fact that if you think about your mobile phone, the amount of real estate you have is extremely precious, and you're not going to give that up unless a piece of application or a piece of functionality is useful to you. Mobile payments, especially, Apple actually expects that they'll have Apple Pay at over 1.5 million locations by end of this year, and Google Pay already is available over 700,000 stores, over 1,000 applications. I heard a report from Synchrony Financials that said 62% of all millennials respond to marketing offers on a mobile, as opposed to only 39% elsewhere. So mobile payments offer an anchoring convenience around which everything else can be built up: marketing, promotions, offers, lifestyle information, contextual value-added services. All of these things fall inside the space of what we call physical-digital convergence. So mobile payments is, in our opinion, the anchoring convenience around which you build these things. So this is a great topic for us to discuss today. Back to you, Keith.
All righty. Well, I think at this point we're handing it off to Don. Don, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Keith, and Vish, thanks for sharing those industry insights with us. So what I'd like to speak about now is getting ready for mobile commerce and how to take advantage of the mega trends that Vish just spoke about, with specific focus on the retail fuels and marketing industry. So good ideas are not automatically adapted. They must be driven into practice with courageous patience, is, I guess, a good starting point for us. So let's move on to the next slide. We're going to start talking about, how do we drive adoption. The very first thing is market awareness. So a lot of activity in the market. These are just some of the different announcements that have been made in the last 4 or 5 months. So we're starting to see a lot of activity and a lot of investment pouring into the market to enable these mobile devices and these mobile commerce initiatives, all the way from the payment methods from Samsung to Apple Pay to the work Microsoft is doing, the card networks are doing, the issuers are doing, and then even with SAP's connected car initiative. Next. So first, I guess I'll talk a little bit about some of the tipping point for mobile. This slide actually came out of a presentation at the National Associations of Convenience Retailers, where we in October in Las Vegas, We had the opportunity to hear Terry Mahoney talking about payments technology deep dive session and talking about where mobile payments are moving to. And we believe that, based on their research, that over 50% of respondents believe that mobile payments are going to account for 20% or more of retail transactions by 2020 in this particular industry. Next. So if we're going to get to those type of numbers, the numbers that Vish spoke about and Terry shared with us at NACS, what are the keys to mobile payment adoption? So from our perspective, and as Vish pointed out, consumer experience is going to be the key driver for mobile. The consumer will make the decision of what applications, what devices they'll use to do mobile commerce. But also we have to think about incentives. Looking across the value chain, we're going to have to incentivize consumers to make the leap, to come over and try and adopt mobile payments. The second thing we need to be thinking about for mobile payment adoption is what's the value for the brand. So what brand marketers, whether that's an oil company brand or that's a consumer packaged goods brand, they're looking for actionable data and specific information about each customer. So what we also know is that customers will share that information if in fact that they receive value for sharing the information. So what are some of the information, the type of data that these brands are looking for? So we've got a couple of just silly examples here. If we know that women between the ages of 18 to 25 buy cupcakes on Tuesday, well then what do they buy on Wednesday and Friday nights? Or if men buy coffee on their way to work each day, then where do they buy coffee on the weekends? Because this is very important for the brands to know so they can then market to those consumers. And mobile commerce, mobile payments actually provides the platform for the brands to get access to that data and make better decisions on how do they market to consumers going forward. The third thing that we need for mass adoption of mobile payments is we need industry standards. So ease of integration for the mobile payment processing application providers to get integrated in with the points of sale systems at these retail markets. We also need improved security to make sure that all of these mobile transactions are safe, and that's the number one feedback from consumers is wanting assurance that if they're going to load their payment credentials and use those as part of a mobile experience, they want to make sure that those are secure. And then also we need ubiquitous user experiences which are being driven by industry standards. So it's going to be as easy as swiping a credit card today when they use their mobile device. And then lastly, we need to make sure that there's value for the merchant. Okay, and what's really valuable for a merchant is a payment network that provides loyalty, that enables them to deliver loyalty and build that into the payments platform so they can drive more loyalty with their consumers. Next. So the first area I wanted to cover is some of the work that's gone on in the retail fuels industry. So Connexus is the industry standards body for the retail fuels marketing industry. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity to serve as the vice chair of the mobile working group for Connexus, so I thought I'd take just a minute to share some of the work that we've completed in the last year and a half or so with standards, because again, this allows us to drive very low-cost implementations of mobile commerce for merchants so they can enable this for their consumers. So at a very high level, what we did is, from the industry standards perspective, is we first defined all the different use cases that we believe were going to be relevant for retail fueling. So this is use cases across pay at the pump, it's pay in store, it's enabling car washes for consumers at these convenience stores and gas stations. And so effectively, after we developed the use cases, we then developed sequence diagrams, and then we developed messaging that could be adopted by the points of sale providers. And so this included the workflow, the mobile device, everything from security that can include multi-factor authentication to make sure that we were protecting the consumer data and the devices, and then of course the seamless integration and ubiquitous experience for consumers at pay at the pump and inside the store. So again, the benefits of standards: increased security, provide ubiquitous site integration, and then also we focus very much on basically mobile wallet agnostic. So the consumer ultimately is going to pick their payment methods in their wallets. And so this has all been incorporated into standards which have been implemented. We've completed and implemented in the industry version 1 of the standard, and now we're adding some enhancements for version 1.1 that will come out after first quarter of 2016 that includes some loyalty capabilities. Next slide. So how do we increase wallet share for the merchant? So we have to look across the value chain, and there has to be a win for the consumer, the brand, and the merchant. So first of all, we make it easy for consumers to find locations, to find gas, so they can, makes it easier for including driving directions, navigation. They can see price per gallon. We also enable then for consumers to buy gas in as little as 3 seconds from the time that they've geolocated into a location. They hit the buy gas button until the dispenser's turned on. So that's about 33% faster than going through a card swipe or tap to pay. And then we ultimately want to get the consumer inside the convenience store so that the merchant gets to take advantage of those increased sales, and the way we do that is by delivering offers down to the consumer to get them into the convenience store. And what's really effective in the retail fueling industry is we already have payment networks and settlement infrastructure set up by the major oil companies and the large branded convenience chains that allows us to settle these coupons down to the merchant. So again, we've streamlined using standards. We've streamlined the method to all the way from issuance of offers to consumers all the way to the settlement to the merchant. Next slide. So further, for the value for the brands, okay, so this would be the oil company brand, or this would be the consumer packaged goods, because ultimately those are the brands are what fund the loyalty programs for consumers and for merchants. So we've worked on solving these industry challenges and also helping drive consumer behavior. So first is the implementation of reward programs. So this can be any combination of incentives or loyalty programs that will reward customers for repeat business. So this can be anything from cents off per gallon of fuel for those frequent customers to digital offers that would be offered by the consumer packaged goods, or even offers specific to that merchant that they could run for consumers. So these are what we call location-based specific offers. So if the consumer receives the offer on their mobile device, then they're able to come inside the convenience store, take advantage of it, or they will get they'll be able to take advantage at pay at the pump and the price rollback. Again, we talked briefly about redeeming offers is easy now, since this is all integrated into the point of sale system all the way through the settlement process. So enabling consumers to automatically be recognized in the convenience store all the way through settlement for those offers down to the merchant. And this actually, we've discovered, it's lower cost for the consumer packaged goods companies issuing offers by using the Internet of Things framework that Vish spoke about. We understand that we can deliver these offers at about 66% lower cost for consumer packaged goods manufacturers. Now, there are requirements. Obviously, the consumers have to opt in for these personalized digital offers. The offers are managed through marketing portals that are enabled by the merchants and by the consumer packaged goods. The CPG settlement, again, runs through the oil company network. So, again, it's a very low-cost delivery mechanism to drive the settlement. And then these dynamic and these dynamic offers are basically a lower cost marketing campaigns for consumer packaged goods. And the ultimate goal is to provide the big data and the analytics that enables the differentiation that Vish had spoke about as some of the mega trends. Next. So I guess in closing, before we move into the questions section, mobile payments for gas is appealing. This was actually some research that was done by one of the large consulting firms. The feedback was that 50% of consumers who already make mobile payments said that they would do so more often if they were able to pay for gas at the pump. And we also learned that 46% of non-mobile payment consumers said that if they had the ability to pay for gas at the pump with a smartphone, that would encourage them to try mobile payments for the very first time. And so as we add payment incentives to make this work, the major oil companies experience that private card discounts of 10 cents. It will be a typical offering that we're going to see in the market. And then that will basically move, gallons increase, they believe 20 to 30% of customers that will use mobile. So about 3.5% of their volume is expectation that they would drive with mobile devices. Also, the major oil companies experience that the Visa discounts, as an example, moved about 35,000 accounts if they had 1% or higher discount over to their private or co-branded cards. And we had an example of the East Coast fuel merchant with a 10% rollback. They were actually deployed on an ACH payment type that drove 7% mobile adoption in the first year. We actually did a recent follow-up with that East Coast marketer, and they are nearly 20% of their sales now is on mobile payments with this 10 cents price rollback per gallon. So we can see that incentives do in fact drive consumer adoption, and then once consumers adopt mobile payment methods, they're more likely to use that payment method from that point forward, especially if they have good user experiences, as we noted with mobile payments about 33% faster than swiping a card. Also, there's other security beyond just a secure payment, but it has to do with when consumers, especially women drivers, are trying to decide when they get out of their car, do they take their purse with them? They leave their purse and lock it in the car and only bring their credit card with them. Well, if they're going to lock their car, if they have infants or children in the car, is that a safe practice as well? So we really believe that that we're going to see a lot of adoption by women drivers, especially using their mobile device where they can pay from initiate the transaction from within their automobile from their mobile device, and then they simply just get out of the vehicle just for the fueling to fuel the car up. And then also it provides benefits, especially as we go into the winter months when we have extreme weather conditions. There's less time for the consumer to be out in the elements if in fact the gas pump is already engaged and ready. By the time they get out of their warm car, they come around, they just simply grab the dispenser handle, start pumping gas. They can get back into the warm car until the process completes. So we see a lot of benefits. I think that we're expecting to see, as many as 30 to 40,000 gas stations will be enabled with mobile payments over the next 12 to 14 months based on some projections from the points of sale providers and different payment networks that are heavily involved in mobile payments. So it's an exciting time for mobile payments, especially as we talk about the retail industry. So again, just to recap, the mega trends are that devices rule, that data science is one of the drivers that's going to enable the brands to benefit from mobile devices. And then from a merchant perspective, the differentiation that's enabled by mobile commerce and mobile devices is what's really going to provide them the opportunity to grow wallet share and increase in-store traffic in the retail sector. So why don't we open it up now for any questions, Keith?
Absolutely, and thanks. That was an excellent presentation. I guess the first question I would have is kind of one of my own here that's always intrigued me a little bit, is that, the mobile commerce and, for that matter, smart chip EMV issues have been around or been considered, for a decade or so. There was really slow advancement, and all of a sudden we're here now, and everything seems to be ramping up fairly quickly. How do you guys as developers stay ahead of something that, literally is almost changing at light speed out there as far as the technology advances throughout the world?
Yeah, so I'll start first, and then Vish, you'd like to comment. So great question, Keith, and I think we have to look across the landscape of retail fueling and some of the challenges. With EMV compliance for merchants, which the mandate is basically to went into effect October of 2015, so just a couple of months ago. While all merchants haven't got upgraded to be able to support chip cards, it's been evolving at a very rapid pace, and I think over the next probably six to 9 months, we're going to see very high percentages of retailers that accept chip cards inside the store. However, in retail fueling, let's recognize that chip cards will not be required at the pump until October 2017, and so it's going to come at a very high cost to merchants to get their pumps upgraded. It's somewhere we've estimated in the U.S. alone, with 150,000 gas stations and 1.3 million gas dispensers, it will cost merchants somewhere around $3.2 billion. So from our perspective, we think what we're going to see, one of the trends and reason that mobile is going to be very popular is, number one, it provides an opportunity for merchants to accept mobile payments using geolocation services where they don't actually have to upgrade their hardware at their pumps in certain lanes, if you wish. So we have a hypothesis that certain lanes, certain gas pumps in the forecourt will be enabled to accept EMV cards, maybe even tap and pay. But then we believe that there will be certain lanes that will just accept mobile payments. And so consumers that pay with their mobile device will be incentivized not only with offers and savings and lower price at the pump, but they will also be able to do that at even a faster rate. So we think that consumers will be able to clear the forecourt, the fueling operation, at a faster pace. So we think there's a lot of incentives there. Now, as far as development, obviously a lot of development not only to support EMV, but a lot of development around the areas of the for food services. So as consumers come off of the forecourt, to be able to pre-order food in these quick-serve restaurants that are co-located at fueling sites. Also a lot of development around loyalty programs, because the constraints we had in the past with loyalty programs that were limited to swipe a loyalty card before a payment card at the dispenser were a bit cumbersome and took a fair bit of effort and time to actually implement those at gas stations. So now with the advent of mobile, we're seeing a lot of development around loyalty and also some very unique implementations of loyalty. So we're not going to be just limited to price rollback per gallon at the pump, but in fact additional offers like free cups of coffee or free downloads of music or anything that the merchant or the brands, the fuel brands or the CPGs can really imagine will be able to be delivered on the mobile device. So Vish, any comments or thoughts about technology development?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and also I think while the mandate was to go EMV chip and pin, but it's overwhelmingly kind of evolved into kind of chip and signature, right? Right now, we haven't yet added a pin, and I think this is where mobile, in my opinion, would have the ability to kind of somewhat disintermediate or accelerate payments, because in Europe, on the other hand, it's almost always. I mean, when I travel, it's even though now my bank card does have a chip, there is no PIN associated with my credit card. So when you go to Europe, it's always a challenge, because they're kind of puzzled. The clerks are puzzled. They have to pull up a sheet. They're going to make me sign, which is, they don't normally have to do that anymore because they all use PINs. Here, you still have a chip and signatures. This is where I think mobile has the ability to disintermediate it. In some respects, we might just go directly to mobile as opposed to even evolving to a complete chip and PIN, I think.
Here's a little bit more of a specific question. We have Verifone Commander point-of-sale EPS site systems, and heard our sites may be eligible to fast-track putting in the P97 mobile technology. Who should I start with, P97 or Verifone? And what will this cost per site?
Yeah, so Keith, I'll take that. So from a merchant perspective, you can either work directly with your Verifone authorized service center. Effectively, it's simple from an implementation perspective, because Verifone was one of the first companies to adopt the Connexus mobile industry standards. So it's as simple as just to have the latest version of the Verifone Commander software at the site, which is a remote push. And then from that point, the site systems are now ready for mobile payments. So you can start with the Verifone VAS. You can also contact P97, and they can help put you in contact with the right people to initiate that.
Well, excellent. Another question. I'm sorry.
Also in mobile payments, we're seeing this offered to the merchant in a couple of different ways. It's really a software as a service, so it's a cloud-based solution that can be enabled just for a low monthly fee that includes all the support and the infrastructure to enable it. So it's not a burden for the merchant, and it also rides on the same settlement rails that's already in place with the major oil company network.
Yeah. And a quick question, can we get the presentation slides? They should be available now as a handout. You should be able to download those. Could you talk a little bit more about the ACH aspects? The credit fee issue, has been a long-running battle for the industry and a fairly serious one. And there were a fair number of ups when NACS enjoyed some legislative success. Now it seems as if the rulemaking process has deleted that. So, retailers are obviously looking for mechanisms to cut the fees associated with, their transactions any way they can.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's a good example. I mean, there's any number of different interchange fees that are applicable to the merchants, from fleet cards, all the way down to the proprietary oil company cards, which typically carry the lowest interchange. However, as consumers went to a skinny wallet, they didn't necessarily carry as many of the proprietary oil company cards as maybe years ago. So specifically on ACH, this is actually a new payment mechanism that's been enabled by mobile in retail fueling, and so effectively a consumer just has to load their account number, their AVA number, and a little bit of information. Possibly a microtransaction will happen to confirm that the consumer's in control of their mobile device and their email and their bank account. But what that means to a merchant is, typically ACH fees are lower than what interchange fees would be for some of the traditional payment cards. So I think what we're seeing in the industry is the merchants are enabling many different payment types as they've always done at the pump. But we've also noticed that they're sharing some of those savings for consumers that do in fact adopt the ACH or the proprietary oil company cards by using their mobile device and using those payment methods.
Well, and here's a question. I think it focuses a little bit more on the in-store opportunities here. What is the payback on helping us drive more new customers or in-store product sales with the digital offers?
Yeah, so digital offers, I think the challenge that the convenience industry has today is typically only about 30% of consumers that buy fuel on the forecourt actually come into the convenience store. And for a marketer, obviously the margins are better for the products, the goods and services sold, or the products inside the convenience store. So the challenge has been is how do we get consumers off of the forecourt and get them to come into the convenience store? So digital offers is one of those ways. Either combined offers, where they get a free product if they buy something else, or even discounts. And so the mobile commerce now provides the mechanism for CPGs to easily interact with merchants to deliver those offers. And from a merchant perspective, they not only get reimbursed for face value of that offer, but they typically also receive a few cents in addition to make it worthwhile to accept the consumer packaged goods offers. Again, so it's a win for the merchant. Not only is it's a very, very low cost mechanism or no cost mechanism to get consumers inside the store, and then they get the secondary benefit, which is moving the consumer to higher margin sales. So in fact, we found with 1 or 2% conversion of those consumers coming off the forecourt into the convenience store will more than fully fund the implementation of the mobile payments at the pump. So it just takes a very, very small percentage of consumers to come in to cover all their costs.
Oh, good. What are the demographics changing with mobile commerce? I guess my question on that line is, it's tended to be a millennial thing, and yet, even an old guy like me has started to take advantage of that a little bit. How do you see the demographics for the customer base with these solutions?
Yeah, Vish, do you want to take that from a broader industry perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. And so yes, so I think we see a significantly higher adoption of mobile technologies and mobile payments in millennials than others. Like I said earlier, there was a study that was done which basically said that millennials respond 62% to any kind of mobile offers, as an example, but boomers only respond at 39%. So there is a significant gap. But the gap also is decreasing as time goes on, as adoption of technology becomes more prevalent, as people get more comfortable. In many cases, it's not that the boomers, etc., are not tech savvy as much as they're somewhat leery about using their phone as a payment device. But as things get more secure and more mainstream, I mean, when you look at the level of adoption, especially in large metros on things like Uber, etc. The frictionless manner in which they perform their transaction, a big part of that is to be able to leverage, payments through their mobile, and so people are already getting used to that, and I think that will actually accelerate the adoption. But there is a big gap, absolutely.
And I can say just a personal perspective as I've started using the technology, the convenience, and one of the earlier slides talked about convenience as a factor there, and the speedier transaction. It kind of gets me in the same way that one click got me with online ordering, to where you really start to appreciate the advantages, I think, once you start taking advantage of it somewhat.
That's right. That's right. And a key point that Don made, which I think is huge, especially in convenience stores, fuel stations, is that selling gas is not how they make money. They need people to walk into their store and buy other stuff. Selling gas is not how they make money. That's not where the margins are. So while mobile payments offers the end consumer a convenience factor, but it can also be used as an anchoring feature around which you can do, like Don described, other things like a tailored offer. And oh, by the way, because of the geofencing capabilities available, there is lots of very, very interesting things you can do. Everything from for example, detecting at what time and place and which store they are, and using that along with other information about the customer to create a tailored offer. And CP companies, by the way, when I work both with CP and retail in the distribution sector, and the consumer products companies, they look at trade funds as a mechanism to grow margin and grow mind share. Retailers almost look at that as simply another revenue stream for them, because they're using that as a mechanism to drive promotions, etc. So, and most consumer products companies today do not get lowest level granular data on who exactly is buying what. So the return on investment on the trade fund dollars is, I'm sure the CP companies would like to see a lot better return on investment. And mobile almost gives them one-on-one marketing. I mean, just about every single large CP company is already doing some way, shape, or form of this. But if P97 went to them and said, I already have payments figured out, and now I can incorporate and inject tailored offers as part of my payment mechanism, that to me is an extremely attractive proposition to them, right? Because of the contextual nature of what you can do.
Here's another more specific and I think for Donna probably a pretty important question here. Besides getting funding approval, what are the top 3 issues I need to consider when talking to my management about mobile commerce?
Yeah, I think that when you think about rolling mobile commerce, so let's say that we're going from doing nothing in mobile to we want to be into a full-blown mobile commerce program. I guess the recommendation would be as they set up the strategy, they're going to want to present to their manager is maybe what we call a crawl, walk, run strategy. So the very first thing is to define the goals of the program, both short-term and long-term goals, and then make sure that they match the capabilities and the supplier for the technology with their goals. Obviously, mobile payments, as Vish alluded to, is really the convenience factor, but more importantly is for the merchant personnel to work with their leadership team with what's the benefits case and what sort of additional sales conversions can we move from the forecourt inside the store. So I guess number one, set the goals for the project. Number 2, put the benefits case together so you can monitor the performance of the program, and then try not to accomplish everything on the first day out of the gate, but build the program over time, and then also tweak it as things are working well. Continue and expand on it. If they're not getting the responses from consumers on certain types of offers and ads, migrate those to things that are more popular.
Yeah. And I'll add to that real quickly. What's the footprint like, to a retailer? Everything. Everybody's working hard, getting ahead. What's the footprint like to take something like this on from your staffing standpoint and actually, and your management capital standpoint and whatnot, and actually get this rolled out in your operations?
Yeah, great question, Keith, and I think that's really often overlooked, and it's really the training aspect. So I wouldn't say that there's going to be additional staff required, It's best to work with your system integrator to help with the initial implementation and testing, so you're not taking people out of their normal daily activities. But then the system integrator will typically provide the training for those employees. And the good news is it's the mobile experience, but both pay at the pump as well as the in-store experience is very frictionless and very efficient. We're seeing a lot of consistency in the way that it's being deployed. Mostly in-store, we're seeing a QR on phone. So that basically the mobile app brings a QR that's just simply scanned by the clerk, which is basically the payment tokens being scanned. The consumer now gets a receipt on their phone, and they can walk out of the retail establishment. At pay at the pump, it's also very seamless with geofencing. The consumer just simply enables the app, or activates the application. They simply select the dispenser that they're in front of, the gas pump they're parked in front of, and within 3 seconds, the platform will go get a pre-authorization and enable the gas pump. So very little required from the retailer. Most of the testing is we've seen typically done by the system integrator. Your system integrator can also help. As Vish had talked about, they really, IBM as an example, really focuses on the benefits case and helping set up the architecture and the applications so that the merchant can actually deliver the value that's available to them with their mobile commerce implementation.
Yeah. How do you drive adoption? How do you? I suppose the question would be, how do you market the program to your customers if you're a retailer to get more and more people on board? Are there certain approaches that work best with that, or what would be the conventional thought on getting people integrated into this who might not be mobile, so to speak?
Yeah, so I'll make a quick comment or two, and then Vish, if you want to address from a broader industry perspective, what we found especially in retail fueling, you have to have a lot of consumers are going to use the app to make it worthwhile for the merchant, but we have to have merchants that accept mobile payments in order for consumers to download the app. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. But phase one is we need mass adoption by merchants. And the most effective way to do this, we've seen with the oil brands, is to actually adopt in geographic areas in large metropolitan cities, similar to the way that Uber rolled out when they were doing the car program. They would launch in cities, they would announce it in that city, and then it would start. Then consumers would know that this payment type is available with these brands, and then they would begin to adopt it. There's also some pretty simple things we've seen, from just pump toppers on the gas pump to notify consumers. We've even seen some of the oil brands now putting videos together that are 15 to 30-second videos, creating awareness for consumers around mobile payments or the acceptance of mobile payments at their establishments. So again, geographic focus and providing some sort of basic messaging to consumers. But it's social media has been fabulous to create awareness around very low cost method to drive awareness around mobile payments acceptance in these geographic locations.
Yeah. Vish, you have anything to add? Sorry.
Yeah. I think the one thing I would add is, loyalty. A lot of convenience store retailers, convenience store companies have loyalty programs, and nowadays, your mobile device, mobile phone number acts as a proxy for your loyalty number, and that is a mechanism to drive adoption, and I think people get a lot of success from that. But also finding creative ways to give people additional value. Of course, the payment convenience is of value. So I'll give you an example. If I'm not mistaken, Murphy's USA, I think last year, or year before, they created this little app that allowed people to figure out, based on where you're located, where the cheapest gas finder app, as an example. So for people who travel all the time, that might be of value to them. So now I don't believe in the initial instance of the app they had enabled payments. I don't know that they have it right now, but my point is that in turn gives some kind of a convenience or value to a customer that will force or make them consider installing that app. And now we also add other things to that app. So I think, of course, payment itself is extremely convenient, but so other things, beyond payments, whether it is offers. I mean, look at what Walmart did. What Walmart did was brilliant because Walmart does not have a loyalty program. And what they did with their savings gadget app is very simple. They said, after you go buy something, go download our app and then scan the receipt against your instant. All of a sudden, Walmart sees to the individual exactly what the products are, how loyalty to collect detailed information for it. So these Walmart does the same thing, but in a roundabout way, saying you scan the receipt and we will then match it against competitors, and if there's a lower price there, you get a credit against the app and that you can reuse back in our store. Now, if I were Walmart, chances are what I'll also be doing is going back to my suppliers and beating them up saying, hold on for a second, I'm paying, refunds to my customers because you're selling your stuff cheaper elsewhere. So I think it gives them, ammo on both ends of the spectrum. So, so I guess my point is loyalty programs are one way to hook customers. Any kind of lifestyle kind of convenience that you can do the other way to hook customers. Absolutely, the adoption is important. And most consumers today, especially in the C-stores and gas stations, might feel that, hey, I can just slip my card into this card reader and pull it out and not walk into the store anyway. So, I'll just continue doing that. So they have to come up with some creative ways to say, how can I make it even less frictionless, if you will, and add more value if I were to use mobile payments? And I'm sure there'll be some creative ways to figure that out.
Well, Don, you've talked a lot about the branded operations. Could you talk a little bit about implementing the program with the independent brands out there that might not be major oil company types?
Yeah, great question, Keith. And I think we've got to look at payments, from a couple of different perspectives. When we look at, branded operations, the oil brand wants to drive loyalty. They want to be able to sell more gallons of fuel under their brand. But then as we start looking at either the multi-branded marketers or unbranded marketers, if we take a C-store chain that has multiple fuel brands, you can imagine that we need to accept several different mobile payments at a particular location. So whether it's it's a large consortium like currency that would be available at those locations, or the oil company branded app that would be available, or even the C-store branded app. The beauty of what we've done with the industry standards is it allows for the coexistence of several different mobile payment apps to work at the same location. So it's totally seamless to the consumer. They can select whichever app that they want. But I think there's also, Keith, in the unbranded marketers, as we call them, or the C-store brands. Typically they have very, very loyal following in their specific geographic areas, and so mobile is really a very, very low-cost way to build loyalty with those particular customers in their market. And so with what we call a multi-tenant architecture, allows us to very cost-effectively brand the mobile app for those smaller and those independent marketers. So this is really this is going to be a game changer for them in the sense that they can implement mobile technology. It doesn't take millions of dollars or a major oil brand backing for them to get into the mobile payment space. So I definitely encourage the as we call them unbranded or C-store branded marketers to really look at leveraging mobile to differentiate themselves and drive loyalty programs because they can get into this technology, very cost effectively.
Yeah. We're starting to run out of time. Again, we're more than willing to go over a little bit, but our questions have slowed down somewhat as well. I'll ask the general standard, since you just talked about standards. It's been an issue, in the industry since technology first arose, and our industry as a vertical through Connexus and PCATS before it seems to be taking on standards, within the vertical there. But is this something that's is necessarily going to happen within each segment, or is it something where you're going to see more universal standards develop over time for interaction between the different hardware and software and networks and whatnot?
Yeah, I think I think the answer is both. I mean, we've got different payment standards and ISO standards and network standards that are going to be universal across all retail establishments. I mean, we're seeing now with mobile being able to deliver a crypto present transaction, so that's the equivalent of a chip card transaction via the mobile device. So that would be an industry standard that would work across all the different retail vertical markets. But then we're going to see specific standards work. In each of the verticals. So if we look at, we're mostly focused with Connexus, of course, because of our industry in retail fueling. So we've spent a lot of time not only on the payment side, but the loyalty host integration, and then integration with the site systems. I think we'll see in the QSR, the quick serve restaurant business, we're seeing more and more standards for pre-order and prepay, so you can just walk into a quick serve restaurant and actually pick up your order. So I think the answer is both, Keith. Broad sweeping standards on the payment types, but then very specific point of sale integrations by vertical market.
Sure. Are there any more questions? I guess our final chance here, but again, I'm sure you can get in touch with Don anytime and ask him, and probably some of the, now that we're starting a new year, some of the trade shows coming up as well. I'm sure you guys will be pretty strongly represented throughout 2016. Any more questions? Well, if not, thank you very much. And then thank you again for, we didn't lose anybody in our initial technical glitch, and just about all of you have stuck around to the end of our presentation today, so I certainly appreciate that. We all do, and I think it also goes to show that, this is an area of technology where, we're starting to get mainstream more than theoretical quite a bit, even in our niche of the universe here. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Vish, and thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.